Hello and welcome for the April 25th Thursday day slate MLB DFS breakdown. We are here. We're going to be breaking it down. We have 8 games to go over on DraftKings, 7 on FanDuel. FanDuel does not have the Dodgers versus Nationals at the end of the slate, which DraftKings does. So that is the major difference between the two. But we will be breaking down both slates. Now we're going to skip the perfect lineup and winning lineup from today because that is still finalizing. The games are over, I believe, but I just don't want to make any mistakes with stat corrections or whatnot. So we're just going to move past that and go straight into pitching today, followed by stacks. Now, before we get into that, come join us at LineStar. $39.99 per month gets you access to everything we do. All the props, all the DFS, you get it all. Love for you to come join us. Now, let's get into this slate. And as always, please like, comment, and subscribe to the videos. Helps us a ton just to, get a little more engagement and feed that YouTube algo to get a little more reach. After all, more reach, more we can give away for free. All right, so here we go. We don't have any ownership projections today, so we can't do the normal high-owned, low-owned stuff because most ownership projections aren't going to come out until the morning. But we will try and give a little more robust, breakdown than we normally would for the pitching. We'll start with DraftKings as always, and I'm going to just have it go by projection at this point. So first, Zach Wheeler. I would expect him to be the highest owned pitcher on this slate, and he's in a really good spot. Look, Cincinnati is a good offense. They have solid WOBA, 192 ISO, so they hit the ball very hard versus righties, but they strike out a lot, 25.5%, and we all know Zach Wheeler is a stud. He is very good at his job, and 2.45 FIP over his last 5, 3 over his last 20. That K rate is 30% so far, 28.7 over the last 20, and I don't mind going back here. The fact that Cincinnati strikes out that much, there's just some real nice upside. BVP data, there's not really enough to go off here, but it is interesting to note that they are striking out 32% versus Wheeler. All in all, combined K rate 28.5%. I am absolutely willing to pay it for Wheeler in this spot. Next, we got Justin Verlander. Now, I think we have Verlander's projection a little high personally. The reason being, he only went 78 pitches last time. He was super efficient, was able to work 6 innings. But, I still think he probably maxes out at 85 pitches or so tomorrow. And it's just hard for me to want to pay his salary if he is at 85 pitches. Reason being is he's just not the strikeout guy he once was. 21% over this last 20 starts, 20% over his last 5. Combined K rate 22%, and Chicago hits the ball pretty well at home. I do have to bring up the fact, though, versus righties, they can strike out a lot, 27% K rate, and 170 ISO, so they hit the ball pretty well. A big thing is that Cubs aren't with Bellinger, as it looks like he might be out for a little while. So it is a little bit of a weekend Cubs lineup, but the fact that he just doesn't have that huge K upside and limited kind of takes me out of the Verlander sweepstakes there. Next, we got Jose Barrios, and he has been pitching great lately. 0.85 ERA on the season, 3.34 FIP over his last 5 starts, only a 21.8% K rate, and that is the big issue here. The opponent splits for KC over the last 150 games, only striking out 20.4%. So I don't love the spot for Barrios. Another thing I do have to bring up, this is the one game on the slate that looks like weather may play a major role in. Right now, we do have a 70% chance for postponement. Obviously, a lot can change overnight. But I tried to look at the Kauffman Stadium weather forecast for tomorrow, and it doesn't look great. It looks like rain actually gets worse throughout the day and not better, so they may not really have a chance to delay it. They might have to start right away and hope they can get things in before it really comes down. So there is major weather issues. Make sure to check the weather for this game tomorrow morning, as this game easily could be in postponement category here. But all in all, Barrios, 9.4K. He is a solid pitcher, but once again, I just don't know if the strikeout upside is there in this spot versus the Royals, who frankly have been hitting the ball really well. 170 ISO versus righties, 250 average for opponent team splits. We know they can steal bags. They got speed. They got power. They do a lot of things. They're a pesky offense. I don't really want to pick on them with Barrios tomorrow, especially if there's a weather situation. Now, I don't mind some Barrios. I just don't want to go overboard with him. Next, we got Tristan McKenzie. And, man, McKenzie has just had a rough go. He's been, in and out of being hurt, didn't get surgery, and he just hasn't really been that effective. 6.31 FIP over his last 5 starts. His ERA is only 4.4, but that FIP is so much higher, and he still hasn't been good. It really, really worries me to want to go with him in this spot versus a solid Boston Red Sox offense. The one thing going for him, 26% K rate for Boston versus righties. And I just can't go there. He hasn't done enough. I am okay having a little bit, but I don't want very much. He just has not been effective trying to pitch through this injury, except for versus the White Sox or versus Oakland. Everybody else is pretty much hit him. So I don't mind stacking Boston, but don't love going with McKenzie. Next, we got Bailey Ober. Ober's an interesting one for me. I mean, pretty much any pitcher versus the White Sox is in interesting category at this point. But he's only 7.5K, 25% K rate, 22.6 over his last 5 starts. And White Sox just aren't good. Terrible WOBA, terrible ISO. Ober averages more fantasy points at home. I'm absolutely intrigued with him, especially if he is low owned. I don't expect that to be the case, though. 7.5K is just too cheap. I would expect him to be one of the higher owned pitchers with Zach Wheeler. Those two likely are the dudes. Next, we got Cole Reagans. Again, this is a possible game to be postponed. If this game's postponed, it is, some of the pitching options that people will consider. So it's going to really tighten up that pitcher pool. And Reagans is one of the guys I absolutely would have been in on if he was playing. Now, it is tough because Blue Jays are very, very good versus lefties. 354 WOBA, 194 ISO. But Reagans, 203 FIP, 30% K rate. He's been very good as well. And at 8.3K, I don't mind taking some swings on him. With his upside and his strikeout ability, you can give up a couple runs at 8.3K and still be totally fine. So I wouldn't mind him. Big issue there. Like I said, weather, so make sure you watch out for that. Next, we got Yamamoto. So this is a DraftKings only play, and it's kind of an intriguing one. I think people will be scared to go there because he frankly hasn't been that good, and he's 9.6K. He worked up to 99 pitches, so he's finally kind of there, fully stretched out, ready to go. Washington strikes out 25%. He is a 32.3% K rate at this point. So the combined K rate, 27.8. It's super high. I am very much intrigued by Yamamoto. He has been giving up some really hard contact, 47% hard contact, 43% fly balls, a lot of barreled balls, But if he misses a couple extra bats and Washington isn't able to really get the barrel on the ball, he could have a very, very good game. The ceiling is giant in this matchup for him. He just needs to not walk guys and miss a couple key bats, and I think he can have a real good game. So definitely intrigued by him, and I do not think he will be high owned, so I don't mind going there. Next, Luis Castillo versus the Rangers. Castillo finally had a very good outing at Colorado. He went 7 innings, 9 Ks, but look, over his first 5 starts, he has a 2.55 FIP and a 4.40 ERA. He has frankly been getting very unlucky this season. He's been pitching very well. K rate is solid. But he is going against Texas, who's a very good offense. So I don't mind some Castillo. His price is down at 8.6K. He has upside, like a Wheeler or Yamamoto. So I don't mind taking some Castillo. He absolutely will be one of the lower owned stud pitchers, just due to the fact he's against Texas. And I do have to bring up the fact there is a little scary BVP numbers, 51 plate attempts, 341 off of him. But if you look last year, he faced him 3 times. He did decently, never did great, got blown up once. It's worth some ownership going there. Next, we got Javier Assad versus Houston Astros. I'm a little bit intrigued by this one. Reason being, last 5 starts, 27.5% K rate, 330 FIP. He has definitely been pitching a little better than he is. 330 FIP over a 196 ERA, but that strikeout upside is there. Now, Houston doesn't strike out much versus righties, 18%. And they hit the ball hard. They have a solid WOBA, but there are so many if and buts about pitching on this slate that, you could do worse than taking a chance on Assad. Mackenzie Gore versus the Dodgers. Dodgers just rake lefties, and it seems like they have a little momentum right now, so I don't necessarily want to go to Gore. I do have to bring up the fact, though, 405 FIP and a 30% K rate over his last 5 starts. He's had 4 this season, so that is mainly this season numbers. It is heavily skewed, though, by this 11K outing in Oakland, of which he only went 5 innings. So I would expect him probably to be more around that 26, 25, 24.8 like he was the last 20. The combined K rate, 25.7, is at least consideration. I don't love, trying to pick on the Dodgers, but Gore is a solid pitcher. Just can't condone going over the Dodgers totally. If you really want to dig down, there's Randy Vasquez, but it's in Colorado. I don't love it. I actually like stacking both sides of that Colorado game. Dakota Hudson, no. And last but not least, got to at least talk about Andrew Heaney. So Seattle, decent offense, but they strike out a lot. Heaney doesn't have huge K upside, 18% strikeouts rate, but he's only 6K, and he went 90 pitches last game. He went 90 pitches the first game. If he is able to be a little efficient, get into, 5-6 innings, put together 4 or 5 Ks, I could see him paying off at, a very, very cheap price. So I would say this is probably only a DraftKings play, but it's at least one to consider if you want to pay up for bats. So go Heaney and Wheeler and be able to pay up or something like that. I would say it's at least in the realm of possibilities that he could be an optimal pitcher. Now, get over to FanDuel. All right, so pitching, we got Wheeler, Verlander, and Jose Barrios. All of them being 10K is wild. I think the clear option is Zach Wheeler from those 3. And then Bailey Ober is absolutely my second pick. Then after that, you know, Verlander, Barrios, Reagans. Well, Reagans would be my third. However, there's the big weather concern there. So pitching is a tough one on DK, on FD. The fact that you have one less game, two less pitchers, and there could be a postponement where two of the better pitchers on the slate is going to make a ton of ownership probably go to Wheeler and Ober. Don't mind some Castillo as, you know, a low-owned target as well. Now let's get over to the stacks. We'll get back over to DraftKings and try and talk through some of those. And same thing here. We're not going to be able to rely on the projected ownership, but we will try to talk through a little bit more. And we will go right to projected stacks here. All right, so highest projected, we got the Dodgers. Mookie Betts, Ohtani, Freeman, Will Smith, and Pages. Pages really brings down this average score, and he had a solid game yesterday with a double and a home run. Dodgers went up and put 11 runs on the board. My dad's been texting me all afternoon because he's a Dodger fan about Pages, and I'm sick of him already. But nonetheless, the Dodger stack looks great. The one thing I do have to say is that Mackenzie Gore is a solid pitcher. So if the Dodgers are super high owned, you can absolutely pivot. I mean, the Padres in Colorado are going to have higher implied totals than the Dodgers. The fact that the Dodgers are projected more doesn't necessarily mean you need to go that way. Gore is solid, 4.05 FIP, 4.9 over the last 20. He can get beat up though, so if you want to take some Dodger stacks, go for it. I don't mind it. I actually do like them. But I also don't mind a little bit of Gore. Now, our value stacks, Minnesota looks awfully good. They've been hitting decently lately, and Soroka is not good. 5.35 FIP over his last 20, 6.87 over his last 5. Absolutely loving picking on Soroka. I also love picking on McKenzie with going to Boston. Boston's been hitting the ball well also, and 6.31 FIP for McKenzie. Makes some sense to want to go there. Ober is going to be one of the higher owned pitchers, so going with some White Sox and for some leverage isn't a terrible idea as well. So I like that spot. Now, getting over to the ceiling options, what we got here. And Dodgers are popping up, and then Cincinnati. Cincinnati, we know they can steal bases, they have power, they can score points in a lot of different ways. And with that, they're kind of an exciting offense to target. It's against Zach Wheeler, though. So if you're going with Cincinnati, don't go all in on them. But there is going to be major leverage because people aren't going to want to play them. And Zach Wheeler is going to be a high-owned pitcher. So definitely a little interest in Cincinnati just as a leverage option. And let's check highest FIP. And that is going to Chase Anderson. So just on the other side of that Boston game, picking on Boston this time. Chase, 5.68 FIP over his last 20 starts. This Cleveland offense is good. Cleveland kid will absolutely want me to say that they have the best record in baseball, which I actually don't know if they still do, but they definitely have one of the better records in baseball. Their offense has been clicking. You can absolutely go with some Cleveland in a spot that likely is not that high owned either. Now, let's click the team stack part so we can go through a little bit more. San Diego Padres, highest implied total. It's a Colorado game. The weather is decent. there's not a ton of real hitter-friendly weather tomorrow. It is cooler temps, not really winds blowing out. A lot can change overnight, but that's kind of how it appears now. San Diego, 4.9 implied total. Absolutely interested in going after them. Randy Vasquez, 5.04 FIP, giving up a lot of hard contact, high average exit velocity. Don't mind going to some Colorado. The other thing with the Padres one is this Colorado bullpen hasn't been good. Then there's the Seattle stack that with Andrew Heaney. He is a pitcher that I like, but I don't mind stacking against him either. He's given up a lot of hard contact, and the bullpen for Texas isn't that great. And we know Heaney will let guys on base, and if you get a couple timely hits, that can turn bad quick. Then Dodgers, 4.7. Minnesota, 4.4 versus Soroka. This is absolutely in play for me. The bullpen's not that good. I definitely like targeting Minnesota as a cheaper stack tomorrow. Philadelphia is going to get some love. The fact that it's in Cincinnati, just more home runs capable there because Great American Small Park. Again, KC and Toronto definitely need to watch the weather in that one. So that'll do it for us today, guys. I hope that works for you. We're going off a little limited information, but try to give you as much as I can for now. Good luck. Let's make some money, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.